Hey everybody, I just want to take a second, actually quite a few minutes to talk about this new Orbek Tankless Water Heater that I picked up. I just bought my home a couple months ago. My prior residence I had tankless and I swore I would never go back to using a tank. So with this new home, it obviously has a tank, which is why I'm changing it out. But I chose to go with this product. I'm going to take it out of the box. I'm going to show you what it's all about. We'll go through some specs and then I'll show you how to install it. It's actually fairly simple. My hot water tank already has electric running to it, so it's going to make installation super easy. But before we get to that point, let's open the box. I already got the lid open, but I haven't taken it out yet. I want to do that with you guys and show you everything that I'm seeing in real time. So let's get it out, look it up, and see what we got.
Okay, here it is, taking it out of the box. You can see the installation instructions there. There's some O-rings, screws, and anchors. I'm going to use some different anchors, some more heavier duty ones, but those would work just fine. So it's 240 tankless heater. It gives you up to about 3.4 gallons per minute of hot water, so it's enough for 2 to 3 fixtures at the same time. So shower, sinks, laundry, it's not like you're going to run out. Water heats up in just about 3 seconds and uses a water electricity separation design that reduces buildup and corrosion. So it can even help cut electric costs up to 60% as compared to your normal hot water tank. There's your installation instructions. What's really cool is that it's got 4 holes in there, so you can have a perfect measurement when you go to put your anchors and holes in the wall. So it's ETL certified with multiple built-in protections: leak protection, over temperature protection, dry heat, and lightning resistance too. So if the house gets struck, you don't have to worry about the unit burning out. It automatically adjusts heating over 20,000 times per second, so the water is going to stay at a constant temperature within 1 degree. So showers, you're going to be perfectly comfortable if you got the water running. Really nice LED design, digital design or display. You can see the inlets there on the bottom. Super small, super convenient. So it's only 14 by 2 by 9.5 inches big. So really convenient for the space that we're going to put it in. So getting into the installation, you can see I have a 60 amp double pole fuse. You can see my fuse box is a little bit older, but it fit in there just fine, so you don't have to worry about that. Especially if you got a newer box, it'll fit in there perfectly fine. But make sure you got that 60 amp fuse for your unit. That's what's required. So here I can see I'm putting the anchors and the screws into the wall and ready to get this thing hung up. So like I stated before, it's super lightweight. So you don't have to worry about it falling off the wall or anything like that. The anchors that were provided will be plenty enough to keep it stable on the wall for when you get it hooked up. But I'm just going to mount the unit here and then make sure everything's nice and straight and looks good there on the wall. And once we get it secured on the wall, we want to tighten down those screws on the bottom. So you're not going to be able to put the unit on with the screws in on the bottom. You can only hang it up with the 2 screws on top, and then once it's hung and suspended, then you can put the screws in on the bottom. And there you can see I'm making sure it's nice and tight and secured to the wall for when we start to do the other installation with our wires and our hoses. Yep, just some finishing touches, 1, 2, 3, 4. And like I said, that installation guide that I showed you before has got the 4 holes on it, which I'll put it up on the wall here in a little bit, and you'll be able to see where those holes are that you can mark so that you get a perfect measurement. So right there on the bottom, that's the inlet for your wiring. I already had wires running to this area because of the previous hot water tank, which was electric. And you're just going to feed it up through and right up to this union where you're going to insert all the wires. So you're just going to have a hot wire, a neutral, and your ground. And you can see the installation guide there. I taped it to the wall. But it's super simple. It's hard to mess up because it's even color coded as to what wires are going into which union there. And you can see there's my ground and my hot wire and my neutral. What's important Though when you take the cover off there, I was just showing you that there's a small wiring harness. Make sure you disconnect that before you take the face plate off of the unit, because you don't want anything to break, and it's a small wiring harness. And then you just got to make sure you plug that back in once you put the faceplate back onto the unit. So I'm just tightening up the screw inlet there. That's going to keep your wires nice and secure so that it's not bouncing around. And those were the caps for the inlets for the water. So this is just some added safety for leakage. That's plumbing tape that I'm putting around the threads on my my water pipes, just to make sure that they're nice and clean, and that when we install the unit, it's going to be leak proof. But I've got older pipes in my house. It was built in 1978, so I want to be sure that I've got all the leakage covered, and make sure that my threads are nice and covered for when we install everything. So my house actually had a 3/4 inch outlet, so you could see I had to get a connector there that's going to connect my hoses from my water pipes to the unit itself. So when you go to install this, make sure you know what size hoses you need, because the inlets on the unit itself are a 1/2 inch. So what I'm doing here is I'm going from 3/4 inch to a 1/2 inch with my hoses. So you definitely want to make sure you've got the right hoses for the unit when you go to install. The unit doesn't come with hoses because every house or every unit or every plumbing is going to be different. So just know what measurements you're using or that you're going to need. And I just picked these up from Home Depot. They're like 20 bucks. They're super cheap. And it's an 8-foot extension because I wanted to make sure that I'd have enough line, and obviously I got more than enough there. But you can see I installed the first hose, and we're just going to tighten up and get the second hose installed here. Like I said before, it's super easy to install. You do need a little bit of knowledge as to what you're looking at and what you're doing, but don't be intimidated just because it's electrical and plumbing. It really came down to as simple as just knowing what measurements you needed and mounting the unit on the wall and then connecting the hoses. I think the hardest part for me was making sure I had the right connection sizes coming from my water lines to go into the unit itself. So I'm just going to snug everything up here. Be sure that you don't over tighten anything. If you really crank down on your hoses and your lines when it comes to plumbing, there's a good chance that you could cause a crack or break the threading. So you just want it to be just snug enough in order to get your unit up and working. So I've got my hoses connected. I turned the breaker back on. You can see we have power. It can switch from Fahrenheit to Celsius depending where you are and what measurement you use, and super easy to adjust. On, off, arrows up and down for your temperature, and generally speaking, a home or a hot water tank will keep it at about 115 to 120 degrees. But you can adjust it to whatever your personal preference is. So I got everything on. I got it running. You can see there that the water's flowing really nice, and I'm going to change the temperature. And within 3 seconds of me running that, the water's going to get hot here in a sec. And ouch, there it is. And I got hot water in the shower as well. You can see it's running really nice. So super happy with this unit. I'm so happy I upgraded. I would highly recommend it.